Before we begin this story, I want to make a simple but important invitation. If you believe that stories can heal, strengthen, and remind us that hope still exists, then subscribe to this channel. Here, you are never alone. Now, take a deep breath and walk with me through the story of Sophia. The bus stopped at the small terminal at 6:20 in the morning. The sound of the brakes cut through the stillness of the sleeping town, and Sophia stepped down with only one suitcase in her hand and an old tiredness in her eyes. The kind of tiredness that does not come from the body, but from the soul. The air of her hometown carried the same scent as always. Wet earth, freshly brewed coffee, and longing. She had not set foot there for 7 years. The narrow streets were empty, covered by a thin fog. The old houses, lined up like memories no one had the courage to erase, seemed to watch her in silence, recognizing every step she took. The church bell rang 6:30, and the sound made her chest ache in a familiar way. Everything in her moved slowly. Her body, her thoughts, her heart. She walked toward her mother's house, dragging the suitcase along the cold pavement. The windows were still closed, but a yellow light leaked through the kitchen curtain. That house held everything she had tried to forget. When she opened the gate, its creak echoed through the empty morning. Inside, she found her mother sitting at the table, wrapped in a blanket, her eyes sunken, her face thinner than Sophia remembered. "You came," her mother whispered. Sophia dropped the suitcase and embraced her carefully, as if holding something too fragile for the world. The hug lasted longer than words. In the days that followed, Sophia's life became quiet, repetitive, and heavy. Medicine at 7. Soup at noon. Tea at 6. Medicine again at 10. The clock always felt heavy. Time did not run, it dragged. At night, when the house finally slept, Sophia sat on the porch, watching the sky and listening to the crickets. The cold wind slipped through her coat, but she did not move. She had learned long ago how to live with the cold inside. Sometimes, without noticing, she placed her hand over her belly. It was an unconscious gesture, a habit of pain. And there, on that porch, the longing returned in full. Sophia never told anyone what happened the night everything was lost. Not her mother. Not her friends. Not even herself out loud. She simply left town, disappeared, and learned how to survive. But memory never left her. At night, lying in her old bedroom, she listened to the wall clock marking each second like a cruel reminder. Time passes, but some pains remain. She closed her eyes and saw everything again. The hospital corridor. The strong smell of disinfectant. The doctor speaking, but his voice far away. The cold in her hands. The cry that never came. She remembered the silent room afterward, the empty crib, the name that was never spoken. She remembered leaving the hospital without a baby in her arms and with an entire world broken inside her chest. Sophia never truly cried that day. The tears stayed trapped. And everything that is not lived becomes weight. Now, years later, caring for her sick mother, the past began to breathe again. And she felt, deeply, that her return to that town was not only to save her mother. It was to finally face what she had run from her entire life. The next morning, Sophia left early to buy her mother's medicine. The sky was overcast, heavy, as if the whole world were holding its breath. The money left in her purse barely covered half the list at the pharmacy. She stood there for a moment, staring at the handwritten prices, until she heard her own voice, weak. "Just these, please." She walked home with her heart tight. Fear now had a name. The money was running out. That afternoon, as she helped her mother lie down, she heard soft knocks at the gate. It was Mrs. Lucia, an old neighbor. "Sophia, I heard you came back, and that your mother isn't doing well." She paused carefully. "I need a babysitter. My granddaughter. Her father works all day. If you want, I can pay you weekly." The offer hung in the air. Sophia did not answer right away. She had not worked with children since before. But that night, counting the money on the table, the decision made itself. The next day, She crossed the street and entered Mrs. Lucia's house. And then, she saw the little girl. Small, light brown hair, large eyes, too deep for a child. The girl lifted her face, looked at Sophia in silence, and something impossible sliced through Sophia's chest like a warm blade. The world went quiet for 1 second. "This is Clara," Mrs. Lucia said. Clara smiled. Sophia could not smile back, because something in that child made her remember someone she had never met. The days gained a new rhythm. Clara spoke little but observed everything. Sophia helped with schoolwork, brushed her hair, prepared simple snacks. Sometimes Clara held her hand without saying anything, as if it were natural, necessary. And each touch made Sophia's chest tighten. Some gestures were identical. The way she frowned when concentrating. The habit of smoothing the edge of the table when nervous. The soft humming before falling asleep. Sophia began losing sleep. She began observing too much. "Are you very much like your mother?" she asked one day, trying to sound casual. Clara thought for a few seconds. "I don't know my mother." The words struck like thunder. "What do you mean?" Sophia swallowed. "My father says she left when I was a baby." The ground tilted beneath her. The questions stacked inside her. But fear was bigger. She did not want to know. And at the same time, she needed to. One rainy night, alone in the kitchen, Sophia opened the old box of documents she had carried since the hospital. She found the folded paper she had never had the courage to reread. The delivery report. And a word she had never fully understood. Suspected neonatal death. The suspicion sleeping inside her for days woke up screaming. The next morning, trembling, Sophia asked Mrs. Lucia for the address of the hospital where Clara had been born. And then, alone, she faced the greatest fear of her life. The DNA test. The waiting was an abyss. When the result arrived, Sophia sat on the bed, the envelope in her hands, her knees weak. She opened it. Read it. And the world broke in silence. Compatibility, 99.98%. Clara was her daughter. Her daughter alive. And someone at some point had lied. Sophia could not sleep that night. Sitting on the edge of the bed, she held the result as if it were sacred and terrifying at the same time. Her daughter was alive, and had been, all along, away from her. The pain she felt now was different from the old pain. It was not loss. It was revelation. For the first time in many years, Sophia truly cried. Not the quiet, restrained cry, but the kind that shakes the body, washes the chest, leaves the soul exhausted and light at the same time. As the sun began to rise through the window, she understood something essential. The past could not be changed, but what she did from that moment on could. In that moment, a strength was born inside her that she had not recognized for years. Sophia went to the hospital. She searched old files, spoke with retired nurses, insisted, asked, faced closed doors. Little by little, she discovered the truth. That dawn, years earlier, there had been a mix-up of records. Her baby had been taken for observation, and another newborn, who did not survive, had been registered as hers. The mistake was never corrected. Clara's path ended up in the arms of a man who believed he was adopting an abandoned child. When Sophia told him everything, her hands trembled, but her voice was steady. "I don't want to take your daughter from you," she said, tears in her eyes. "I just want to be her mother too." The man cried. There were no screams, no war. There was pain, and truth, and slowly, understanding. Life did not become a fairy tale. It became something better, real. Sophia became present. She picked Clara up from school, helped with homework, lay beside her when she had nightmares. Sophia's mother, though weak, smiled more now. The house had laughter again. There were hard days, painful conversations. But there was also hot coffee, drawings on the fridge, hands held on the couch. Sophia was not perfect, but she was whole. Months later, Sophia watched Clara run through the backyard as the wind moved the curtains of the house. The world finally seemed in place. She thought of everything she had lost, and everything that had been returned. She thought of the broken woman who fled that town, and the woman who now remained. The past still existed, but it no longer ruled her. She had found something greater than pain, purpose, and in that moment, she knew. It is always possible to begin again. If this story touched your heart, perhaps it can also touch the heart of someone you love. Subscribe to the channel to walk with us through more stories that comfort, heal, and strengthen. Leave a comment sharing what you felt, or which part of this journey spoke directly to you. And if you know someone who is going through a difficult moment, share this story with them. Sometimes, a single story is enough to light a flame in the middle of the darkness. White heart. And you are not alone.